Okay, it's me again, Jose. Time for another wonderful one of these videos. Before I get going on the other stuff, I want to talk right now about the 3 levels of flow or lack thereof that exist in sports, and talk about how they relate to Ben Simmons and even things that happen with me. So let me get this stuff on. Okay, here we go. So, in athletics, everything talks about flow performance and all those things, removing negativity and all that stuff. But from a neuroscience standpoint, which is your predictive brain, it's the wrinkly thing on top, the last 6 layers of cells on that is called the neocortex. That's where all high-level intelligence exists in our brain, and it's a predictive brain. It's constantly making predictions. It's like a sequence of events occurs, and your brain's like predicting. It's like a melody, it's predicting the next notes in a melody. So with this predictive brain, there's 2 types of predictions. There's one that's in anticipation, where you have enough data that your brain will react to and go, hey, I think this is going to happen next, versus reaction, where the action occurs and then your brain predicts off the action. So anticipation is predicting right before the action occurs, and reaction occurs after the action has occurred. Every time that this anticipatory reaction occurs, your brain pre-visualizes it. Sometimes it's an audio thing, sometimes it's a picture, sometimes it's a word. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're playing basketball, a lot of people play a lot of basketball. Suddenly you see the path of the basket and the move you can make, and then you just go. You're just reacting to that picture. Your best hitters in baseball will tell you when they have a ball they can drive, they see a flash movie where it's going before they take a swing. So the barrel of bat's actually being released to a place, not just swinging to the outfield, swinging out there in general. Steve Carlton basically broke down pitching to gets the catcher's signal, slider, visualizes the ball, has a flash movie of the ball going to the catcher's mitt, and simply reacts to that image. He was basically playing advanced catch with the catchers, as you like to say. And so anticipation allowed me to have some of my best saves where my brain showed me where the ball was going before the player's foot or head hit the ball. And that's anticipation. Problem is that if you're anxious or have some level of tension, those movies go away. And therefore, now you're dropped down to reaction. So now your flow is slower. So if you're predictable in stick handling, and your defender's got your timing, he's playing better than he is. But if you make it unpredictable, then the player will play down to his actual level, because all he can do is react. Now, if you're a good coach, if you're a great coach or a solid player, if you can introduce a doubt, then you've turned reaction to thinking where there is no flow. Doubt means you have no idea what to do. There is no prediction, so now you have to think about how to solve the problem. It's like a math problem where you're flying through a math problem if you're talented in math, and suddenly you stop and now you have to work it out because your brain stopped predicting things, right? When I'm gifted in math, so my brain was giving me every frame of a movie, every line. Okay, here's the next frame. I'm transcribing frames, and then it would stop, which means the brain didn't know what to do next. And now I have to think my way through to finish the problem. So the flow was broken in my taking of that test, right? It is easier to beat a team if you can disrupt anticipation and bring it down to reaction, and then if you can be really good, take reaction and turn it into thinking, then the other team is done. The head coach of the Temple Owls, John Chaney, was a master at that, right? Absolute master at that. So, in basketball, we have a soccer ball, not a real basketball, but in basketball, shooting with my gloves, of all things, right? When you learn to shoot, you're not following the eyes with your ball, following the ball with your eyes. When you are shooting, you're reacting to a picture. You visualize the ball coming down the chute, just this side of the back of the rim, and you release that. So down the chute is a nice high release with backspin. Versus at the basket. At the basket, boom. So those people who have those low arc cruise missiles because they're shooting at the basket. For some, that became a habit. This is where Ben Simmons' problems lie. It's not about his mechanics. It's not about it. If he's ADHD with the rejection-sensitive dysphoria, I believe his mechanical woes are purely in his head, because he breaks down. His shooting breaks down when all eyes are on him. Right? Free throws, three-pointers, and outside shots. When wide open, all eyes. When he's knifing through the lane, all eyes are not on him. My son, ADHD with severe anxiety, was able to perform brilliantly in a high school band. Why? Because all eyes are on him. He's part of a big crowd. When Ben Simmons is knifing through the lane, all eyes are not on him. I would freeze in street hockey in my high school years when I would have a breakaway playing up on offense. I would freeze. It's like, oh, all eyes are on me, and I would freeze. I had to rewild my self-image. As a defenseman with my slap shot, I started scoring more goals because the anticipation of scoring was way lower. And then once I'm a goal scorer, became part of my self-image, then one day I had a breakaway on the goalie, and it wasn't a bother at all, because my self-image of being a scorer changed, and I had confidence. So the problem with Ben Simmons is, if I'm shooting down the chute, that releases up here to give me the picture I'm reacting to, right? Ball coming down the chute, not following the ball with my eyes. I'm just reacting to that picture, looking at the basket, but thinking down the chute. If you have anxious, that pre-visualization thing goes away. So all you're left with is at the basket. At the basket. That's all you're left with. And that's where Ben Simmons' shooting woes begin and end. And but that's also true in soccer. Okay? In soccer, you see kids who shoot brilliantly, full release with the dominant foot, right? And then when they're like 12 years old, but then when they with the left foot, it's stab. Well, where's the follow through there? Well, I'm looking down, but I'm thinking about a picture about the movie to the goal, right? I had that previs in my head of where the ball's going. Now I'm anxious because this is my weaker foot. The anxiety means that movie is gone, and it's stabbed because it's at the ball. There's no motor commands necessary past the ball. This is the fat shot in golf too. So in baseball with a hockey stick and soccer goalie gloves, I'm like sports schizophrenic. So in baseball, every good hitter will tell you when they have a ball they can drive, they see a flash movie of where the ball's going. So their swing, barrel the bat gets released to where the movie told them the ball was going. It's a complete and full release. 0-2 curveball, protecting home plate. If the thought is protecting home plate and not over the fence, those people who are great at fouling off pitches like Jason Worth, their release is here because this is the focus, protecting home plate. There is no address out there. The focus changed that release to this release, to full release with a soccer shot to stab. Over the top move in golf, over the top move in hockey. They all correlate. Fluid, nice high arc shot in basketball versus at the basket. The differences in mechanics, well, there is a difference in mechanics, but there is a difference, it's not caused by bad mechanics, it's caused how focus breaks down due to anxiety, because this previs of the ball, I'm looking at the rim, but imagining the ball coming down the chute, I get nice high arc release versus the at the basket release because the movie went away. So when Ben Simmons is at the foul line and all eyes are on him, it's at the basket. At the three-point arc, when all eyes are on him, a low arc shot at the basket. They have to create drills that put him in a state where it's not about perfect, it's about perseverance and variety, because with ADHD people, novelty drives focus, and this is for the upcoming video, the next video. Novelty drives focus, hyperfocus. Novelty is a trigger for hyperfocus. So with my son, I'll cut to a video. Let's pretend there's a video here of my son. We went with ladder drills in golf for short game shots and putting because he had to rebuild a picture every time, right? So in a short game, it was about 3 out of 5 up and downs, right? Doesn't have to be perfect, but there's a ladder, right? And he's having to putt everything out, right? He's having to putt every shot out, so if he has a wonky shot here, he's not going to dig himself because the goal is still in play, right? So, things like that need to be done for Ben Simmons. Not about perfect, not about cluster repetition. That will not work. That does not trigger hyperfocus because novelty drives hyperfocus. If you drive hyperfocus, then negative self-talk doesn't exist. It's the ultimate zone. Why do you think Michael Jordan was one of the greatest players of all time? He's ADHD. So, what I would suggest is stagger shots, have 10 shots, have 10 cones around within and outside of the three-point arc, and have him rotate through those 10 shots until he gets 8 out of 10, and then he's done. Don't make it about perfect, because that increases tension. Our goal is to have him constantly practice with novelty and no tension so he can learn to maintain the visualization of the ball coming down the chute, which will drive the correct mechanics. Secondly, on the foul line, this sounds kind of silly, but a variety of shots around the foul line, including the one that you're supposed to hit. 1 foot back, foot forward, a little bit to the side. Just keep it novel so you can maintain hyperfocus and therefore maintain the previs of the ball coming down the chute, which he is reacting to. Okay? So when all eyes are on him, that's his focus, his mechanics are that way because he's focused at the basket, not the pre-visualization of the ball coming down the chute. Okay?
This is a wonderful example of the predictive neocortex and how anticipation occurs. So you know the word that is at the end of this sentence. Your brain put the word sentence in your head before I said it. That is a version of auditory anticipation and auditory pre-visualization, if you will. That is no different than your brain giving you, right before a shooter's foot makes contact with the ball, a flash movie where the ball's going and you just dive where your brain tells you to. That is anticipation. And when your brain's sure about it, it gives you the right movie. If your brain has 4 or 5 options, it doesn't give you anything, and all you can do is react. Anticipation with a previs or pre-audio, whatever that we call that, is the fastest form of flow.